in terms
Isn't
of
it
my
interesting? Like
last
the
week.
1 week to live thing is actually a pretty good question because it's like, okay, what is actually important? When you remove all the bullshit and like stuff you actually don't want but think you want, like what is actually important? And it's like giving the essence of Jeff back to the universe before you leave.
An interesting
People forget
aspect of
that.
it too is like I was thinking about, okay, well, do I want to, like, I wouldn't make TikToks or whatever, like distill it into minute long segments, I wouldn't do that. Kind of like dilutes it.
Mm.
And I would probably literally just sit there for 8 hours a day just talking or more.
There could be an argument though, dudes, that it makes it more potent because
Hmm.
then it's easier for people to digest. It's an 8 hour video where you're like rambling, like it's probably a lot of wisdom, but someone has to come along and distill that into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, I guess it depends on how much time, right? Like that expression, like I would have wrote a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. If you had enough time, distilling it down, I think would probably be the best way to get your real wisdom across. And I guess going back to the alchemist idea, like everything is actually very simple, but we overcomplicate it. Like you could probably get that 1 hour, 8 hour video into a few like important points of like, okay, this
Yeah.
is truly what matters. If you had one page to give your wisdom back to the world, like what would that page say?
Fuck.
That's actually a fucking. I'm gonna write that down. That's
That's a
fucking money.
fucking, that's a
That's
big one right there.
fucking money.
That'd be an interesting thing. That'd be an interesting what you could put in there. You could probably do that. Like, all right, you're about to turn 30. What is like, if I had to give my all the wisdom that I knew in one page and just write that down right now, what would it say?
It
And then you
might
do that
be
every five
one
years.
line or something. I wonder if it would be like one line, like life is simple, stop complicating it or something. I guess when you refine things and keep refining this until it gets to its purest form, I guess eventually it comes back to, like, I mean, I'm referring to the alchemist thought, but I think it's a good philosophy of things are actually very simple, but we try very hard to complicate them. So maybe it would be 2 or 3 lines, and that would be it. Because like if you have many lines, it's very hard for people to digest.
Hmm.
You really have to get like just your most important truth across. That's actually I wonder what that would be for me as well.
I just think one that I think that I would put would just be like, make sure you think everything through on your own and don't think about it through like a lens of like a team or anything like that. But I think I'm also being biased due to like this COVID situation, like how my parents don't want to have the conversation with me because they've bought into like whatever the news tells them, and they don't want to, like even though I'm making these points that are unnegotiable, well, they're negotiable, but they just aren't even looking at them. That's their option. Instead, they've opted to just not look at what I have to say because they're like, no, like we've already chose it. So I think I'm also like biased to, I wouldn't say that that is my truth. It's kind of like I'm biased based on like current events.
Yeah, I mean, I had two thoughts from what you said there. One was like, so I don't know, I haven't really like fleshed this idea out, but if you start following a spiritual path in life and you start thinking for yourself, you can relate with less and less people over time, and you become lonelier and
Hmm.
lonelier. And that's maybe why these dudes go and live in caves because it's no one understands what the fuck I'm talking about. Because I've become like really removed. I've truly started thinking for myself, or the universe is just like flowing through me with thoughts. Maybe that's what happens to crazy people. I don't know, but when you truly start thinking for yourself, because in the Matrix, right, he unplugs and then he just sees these like drones walking around in a simulation. Like, I kind of see it like that. Like some people kind of unplug and like go on like a path, and they live their own truth, and they really explore what do I actually want, or like this illusion of me. What do I actually want versus what is society telling me? And most people aren't even awake, and they're just going through societal groupthink. So when you first started sort of giving your perspective there, I was also thinking I probably would have written something quite similar in that the most important thing you can do is think for yourself versus living through the lens of society or like
Hmm.
some other group think.